Good morning, YouTube fans. One of the big pluses of kayak fishing is you get to meet and make a lot of new friends. A lot of times when I'm launching my kayak or bringing it back in, someone will come up to me and start talking to me and wants to know a little bit about kayak fishing. They ask a lot of questions. Invariably, they get around to asking about my camera setup. So today I thought I would talk to you a little bit about my camera setup and my what I've learned over the past 4 years. I have been videoing my kayak fishing trips since about 2013. I first started with a simple Canon photo shoot camera. I mounted it on a pole on the back of my kayak, and just to see if it was something I wanted to do. My wife saw that I was interested in doing this and bought me a GoPro Hero 3 Plus for Christmas in 2013. So in 2014, I really got hooked on it, and it's something I really enjoyed doing. I enjoy the capturing what I see during a fishing trip and then posting it on YouTube or Facebook for my friends to look at. The first thing I want to talk to you about is your camera mounts. Like a lot of people, I ended up using the modified Targus pole that you see here. I won't go into detail on how these are set up because there's lots of YouTube videos out there that you can see how it's done. I did mine a little bit differently. I think it's a lot easier, but I won't go into that detail. I use two versions. This one is my preferred version. It's on the top. It has a regular photo type mount that you would find on most tripods. And on that you can screw with one of those adapters. You can screw your camera right on the top of that. You can also put a ball on here and use other fittings to alter your angle, etc. On this end of the pole, I use something different than what you see on most setups, and I just took a piece of foam rubber and stuck it around the pole. And what this allows me to do is to physically mount this in any rod holder, either on my kayak or my boat. Move it back and forth with ease. I don't have to unscrew anything. I just pull it out and put it in. It also allows you to turn your camera if you so desire without having to manipulate any knobs or turn anything. The other setup is the standard setup that you see that most people make, and that is using a Scotty gearhead mounted in the end of the pole. And with that, you would use a mount like this that you would surface mount on your kayak somewhere, or one of these that goes in a track, and these just click in like so. I'll get to showing you how I have this set up on my kayak in just a few minutes. Some of the things I've learned over the past 4 years. To begin with, camera angle. I personally have adopted two camera angles. The primary angle is going to be from behind my head or to the rear of the kayak. I like to watch videos that show exactly what the person is seeing, what they are experiencing, the casting, the catch, the bringing in of the fish. I get a little discouraged at watching some videos that only have it from a front-end view where the person is the primary focus of the video. I have a front camera mount, but I only use it to show me bringing in the fish, measuring the fish, holding it up for the viewer to see. The other time I would use it is when my rear camera is looking directly into the sun and you can't see a thing. So I would use the front camera in that instance to capture the video. One of the things that you run into with videoing is battery life. My GoPro Hero 5 Black, I know it's going to get about 2 hours and 15 to 20 minutes on a fully charged battery. My fishing trips are generally in a 3 to 4 hour range, so at some point I would have to stop and replace that battery. My Hero 3 Plus, I know it goes about 2 hours and 30 to 40 minutes. To get around that, I came up with a couple of systems. The first system I used was one of these battery sources, and this one is a 2600 milliamp hour power source, and using cables you would plug it into this and then plug it into your camera, and basically it will operate the camera for the entire 3 to 4 hour trip without a problem. And at the end your camera battery is going to be charged, so you don't have to recharge it. This works very well, but I really didn't like the setup that well, so I found this online. It's a Wasabi Power Stick, power hand grip, and it provides 5200 milliamp hours of battery power. And the nice thing about this is that it screws directly into my top of my pole. And it has a USB port that you plug in. You're going to put your camera on the top and you're going to plug this right directly into your camera. And this will go 5 to 6 hours, much longer than my video card will allow me to video. So that solves the battery problem. One thing you have to be concerned with though is when you're using this, you've got to have your camera open. You've got to have a side port open and your camera's not going to be waterproof. But at the rear of the kayak, that's not a problem because the camera is mounted up high and is rarely going to get water splashed on it. In case of a rainstorm, I always carry a little plastic bag in my kayak so I can turn around and place it over the camera if it starts to rain. My little Hero 3 Plus I'm going to use as my front camera, and it will be in a waterproof case. And to make the battery last for my entire trip, I will use a remote. I'll only turn it on when I need it and then turn it off when I'm not using it. The next thing I want to talk to you about is sound. To me, sound adds a lot to a video. The birds, the splashing of the fish, and the person explaining what they're doing, etc. I'm not much of a talker, so you're not going to hear me talk much on the video. I'd rather you hear what I'm hearing in experiencing my fishing trip. But I've tried different methods for capturing sound. If you get a case like this that has an opening in it, it will improve your sound considerably over in a waterproof case. The drawback though is that you're going to get a lot of wind noise, and wind noise can just be overpowering it sometimes because you don't always fish on a calm day. To get around that, I found this little Sony mic on phone. It plugs directly into the camera. It has the little earmuffs on it, and it will mute all the wind noise and pick up sound. It's important to have the rear mounted camera as close as possible to your head so that it will pick up whatever you say. The Hero 5 Black has 3 microphones, and if you use the stock standard case, 2 of those microphones are actually blocked and you only get 1. I don't like the Hero 5 Black for recording sound. To me, it's just awful. So in my experimentation, I tried a couple of things. First, I used my iPhone with a microphone plugged into it and an app that will let you record sound. It worked fine, but there's a couple of drawbacks there. If your phone buzzes or rings, then it might interrupt you speaking. It might interrupt something that you would not want to have that extra noise in. What I've ended up doing, though, is going with a microphone on my shirt and a Zoom recorder. The microphone has the little sponge head on it, which eliminates a lot of the wind noise. Or you can buy a special adapter that will go over the microphones here on the Zoom recorder, and it will completely eliminate wind noise. I prefer the microphone setup. I keep it in my pocket, and my process is, because I don't have to worry about batteries with my camera, I start my camera when I start my fishing trip. I turn this on and start it, and at the end, when I process my video, I will sync up the sound with the video, and I've got a pretty good presentation. If you're capturing video and sound, you're going to have some kind of software to put your presentation together. When I first started, I used Windows Live Movie Maker. It works pretty well, but the negative was that the final format of your film was a Windows file, and you had to have some other type of software to convert it to an MPEG-4. And I tried several other software versions, using a trial version at first to see if it was something I want to use. But I ended up with Pinnacle Studio, and it's reasonably priced. It has some very good tools for processing sound and video, multi-camera capture, things like that. It makes it a pretty good tool. And with that, let's get outside and pull out my kayak, and I'll show you how this looks on the kayak itself. This is my preferred setup here with the Targus monopod in a rod holder, my Wasabi power grip on the top of that, and then my camera on top of that. As you can see, the little cable running from the power source to my camera. One thing I didn't mention earlier is that the cables that you use with GoPros has to be an approved GoPro cable in order for you to charge and video at the same time. Some cables are just not compatible. They will not let you charge and video at the same time. The nice thing about this is that when you're traveling, the pole can be all the way down, and then when you get ready to start your fishing trip, just raise it up to the height that you want and go ahead and start shooting. Another thing that I forgot to mention was that by using this foam rubber here, it dampens the noise that you might get from your kayak. Noise will travel from your kayak up through the pole and to your camera, and you will pick it up if you're using your camera as your primary source for sound. It's important that you don't shove that all the way down so that the bottom of the pole is in contact with the bottom of the crate. My second setup using the Targus monopod is if I leave my crate at home and put an ice chest in the back of my kayak, and I do that sometimes, so I have to resort to this for mounting my camera. As you can see, the adapter up top, I would just attach that to my camera, and you can move this around any way you want. There are some big negatives with this. As you can see, it shakes. It's not steady. There's no way you can make it steady. And the other big negative is that it's because it's mounted directly to the kayak, sound will transfer up through the pole and into your camera. Anytime you hit the kayak with your paddle, your rod, anything, you're going to get a noise on your video. From my front camera, I have two setups. On my kayak, I installed a 1-inch ball on top of which is that adapter, and that's a Scotty's adapter, and on top of that my camera. And as I mentioned earlier, I operate that camera with a remote, turning it on and off when I need to. I also have this pole that you see here with a ball on the end of it with another small adapter, which I can just take that camera off and put it on that. I use that sometime to get some oddball shots, or you can actually stake it out in the sand and capture video that way. Well, that wraps up my video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Thank you.